Somebody's asking for my stool already. You want it first and then I can go? Anyway, what I want to start off with is just for men. Just for the men that are here. You know, Gene read something from a cookbook today, and I thought this was for men. It said, the best time... is it better now? Yeah. Can you hear better? Okay. Because I've got to get this off my chest. For the men only. The best time to wash dishes is right after your wife tells you to. How do you like that one? I took it to heart, so from now on, I'll either get out of the way or I'll do it. Well, that's not what I want to talk about tonight anyway. Tonight I want to talk about time and how important time is. Let me read something to you that was written by the wisest man that ever lived outside of Jesus, and that was Solomon, the king of Israel. And he said this, there is a time for everything, a season for every activity under heaven, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to uproot, a time to heal and a time to kill, a time to tear down and a time to build, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to scatter stones and a time to gather them, a time to embrace and a time to refrain, a time to search and a time to give up, a time to keep and a time to throw away, a time to tear and a time to mend, a time to be silent and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate, a time for war and a time for peace and a time for a new mic. I'm told that a Chinese philosopher was going to visit a certain city for lectures. And the fellow that picked him up at the airport said, you know, there are two ways of getting home. One will save us 3 minutes if we go by commuter. Otherwise, it'll take longer. And he says, I think we'll take the faster route because it'll save us 3 minutes. And then the Chinese philosopher said, and pray tell, what are you going to do with those 3 minutes? And that is a good question, isn't it? Sometimes we're so very time conscious, and the next time we kill time. And killing time is murder, I think, because time is so precious. Someone has said this, to realize the value of a sister or brother, ask someone who doesn't have one. To realize the value of 10 years, ask a newly divorced couple. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. To realize the value of 4 years, ask a graduate. To realize the value of 9 months, ask a mother who gave birth to a stillborn. To realize the value of 1 week, ask an editor of a weekly newspaper. To realize the value of 1 minute, ask a person who has missed the train, bus, or plane, or the person facing death. To realize the value of 1 second, ask a person who has survived an accident. Those are all things that we need to take into consideration to realize how important time is. Time is the most important element that we have on earth. It all started with God, and it will all end with God. Let's remember that. For everything, absolutely everything above and below, visible and invisible, everything got started with God and finds its purpose in Him. So it's a very precious gift that God has given us. Now, philosophers speak of two kinds of time. One is the perceiving time and the conceptual time. Perceptive time and concept of time. Now, perceptive is the way we feel about the time that is passing. You know, there's one story in the Bible that really talks about perceptive time, and that is Jacob. Remember, Jacob needed a wife, and then he went somewhere to work for his wife for 7 years, and then when the time came for the two of them to be together, oops, a mistake was made. He didn't have the right one. I was just thinking of that today. I tried to download a book on my e-reader, and then I was just about loaded down, and then it said, oops, something went wrong here. And I thought that's the same with Jacob. But then Jacob worked another 7 years to marry the Rachel that he wanted. And this is what it says, that, just a minute. No, I don't think I have it written. Oh yes, and Jacob served 7 years for Rachel, and they seemed to him but a few minutes for the love he had for her. Thought it was only a very short time. Now 7 years is a long time, but our perception of 7 years may not nearly be that long. I'm sure you've sat through a boring lecture and it seemed like 2 hours and it was 15 minutes long, or the other way around. You know, when you perceive time, then a boring lecture can seem endless, even though it may be only 15 minutes in length. And I think we've gone through times like that. The opposite, however, is interesting. A lecture may last an hour and a half, and it seems like 10 minutes. We listened to Chuck Colson, and those of you who have ever met him and talked with him know what kind of a talker he was. And he was at our conference, and I think he spoke an hour and a half. And Gene said, "Where has the time gone?" Now, perception is so much different than reality. And we all know that. And as I said, Jacob found that out, that 7 years of extra work didn't mean all that much. But then there's also conceptual time. And conceptual means which is measured by clock or calendar. We measure time that way. And here, especially in our country, we are very clock conscious, watch conscious. Conceptual time goes on whether we're asleep or whether we're awake, whether we're well or whether we're sick, whether we're working or whether we're idle, when we talk or when we don't talk, when we're silent. Time goes on. Conceptual time goes on. And it is a gift from God. The Bible says, "My times are in your hands." And remember, time is not ours. God has given it to us, and we are to use it wisely. "My life was not hidden from you when I was made in the secret place," says the psalmist. "When I was woven together in the depths of the earth, your eyes saw my unformed body. All the days ordained for me were written in your book before one of them came to be." So God knows our time here on earth. because He started it, He's going to end it. Now I'm going to mention a few things about time that are very, very important. One is the supreme value of time. And I've already pointed that out to you. It's so important that we can't overlook it. We all have 24 hours a day. And I wonder what we do with those 24 hours. God gives it to us, and we have to make the right use of it. And I wonder how many of us have wasted hours and hours and hours when we could have been learning, when we could have been helping other people, and so many other things we could have done. Now the Bible says in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth, and that was the beginning of time.